Hello and welcome. My name is Andy Crick, and I'm your host for this training topic about limiting beliefs and self-sabotage. My mission is to help garage owners become more successful in business. And how I do that is I try and go live every week on one of the 5 pillars of business as I see it. This week, we're in the people and performance pillar, and we're looking at limiting beliefs and self-sabotage. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you believe. How identity shapes your income, blocks your success, and keeps you stuck in a rut. This training topic dives into the hidden beliefs that shape your results. I'm going to explore how your identity around money, success, and control can silently sabotage your personal and business goals. So if you're ready to break the cycle and finally build a business you know you're capable of, could be where the shift begins. Changing your identity around these 3 vital concepts, constructs, or beliefs is vital if you're going to get the income, success, and freedom you deserve. We're going to explore the 3 topics: your identity around money, your identity around success, and your identity around control. And we're going to look at how they could be affecting how you perform within business or even within your personal goals. So the first thing we need to do is we need to think about what these 3 things are. So the first thing, money. What is money? Money as a concept is simply a medium of exchange, and it is shaped by social constructs, your class or net worth, and interpreted through beliefs. Money is scarce, or money is the root of all evil. But here's the thing. You will never make more money than you believe you deserve. And what if you do? You'll find a way to lose it, to burn it up, to mess it up. This isn't just pop psychology. It's real. Think about the lottery winners that somehow manage to blow a small fortune. Because we all have a money identity, a number that feels normal. Anything above that, and your nervous system goes into panic mode, because deep down, you don't believe it's you. And if you don't change your identity, you'll sabotage the success or any success that shows up, because you will never earn your identity around me. Now, some people say to me, well, it's not all about the money. If only I had £1 for every time I earn. So here's a question to reveal an uncomfortable truth. If half your money or your perceived wealth disappeared tomorrow, would your behavior change? So you went to your bank account and half your savings was gone, or the value of your whatever your possessions are at halved, would your behavior change? If the answer is yes, then it is about the money. And your money identity is dictating your actions, your comforts, your pricing, your risk tolerance. You can kid yourself otherwise, but business is always about the money. So the next identity we need to think of is the identity around success. So what is success? Well, success is a social and personal construct defined by your personal beliefs. Success is often measured in wealth, but not always. You can look at success in other ways, but it's commonly measured in wealth. So let's talk about success identity. Ask yourself, how do you feel about successful people? Do you admire them, envy them, or do you judge them? Then ask yourself this: why haven't you achieved the same level of success? The truth might sting. Sometimes it's skill, sometimes it's timing. But more often than you would believe, it is belief. You don't see yourself as successful, so your identity pulls you back to where it feels safe, familiar, predictable. And there's a saying, your frequency is what you frequently see. So if you spend your time in environments where success is rare or ridiculed, you'll struggle to see it as normal. That's why peer groups matter. That's why mentors matter. What you expose yourself daily exposes what you believe is possible. So let me set the record straight. Someone being rich doesn't make someone else poor. Nor does money change who you are. Money is simply a multiplier. You become more of what you are. It's a fact. The more resources you have, the more you can achieve, both good and bad. If your business is more successful, you can employ more people, provide more opportunities in your community, give more to charity, and you can solve bigger problems. Which brings us on to your identity around control. So what is control? Well, control is a belief or illusion reinforced by emotional conditioning. So let's get into that one belief that trips up even the smartest garage owners: control. You started the business, you built it from the ground up. Every customer, every part, every invoice, your DNA goes through it all. But here's the twist. What if you were no longer needed in your business? But it's the dream, isn't it? Freedom, time and financial freedom are two of the most cited reasons for starting a small business. But that requires you to hand over control. But for many business owners, the mere thought of that is terrifying. Because if you're not needed, who are you? What is your identity? And that's the real fear behind delegation, behind hiring, behind building systems. It's not about trust. It's about identity. Letting go of control means letting go of who you have always been. And for some people, that's something they simply can't do. And here's the hard truth. If your business relies 100% on you, then it's not a business, it's a job. A job stands for just overbroke. So let's look at these self-limiting beliefs and self-sabotage in action. And let's summarize the patterns that are commonly seen. Because self-sabotage isn't loud, it's not throwing a tantrum or setting fire to your business. It looks like this. Procrastinating on the new hire. Undercharging, again, just to get the work. Delaying that marketing push until things quiet down a bit. Not applying for that award because I'm unlikely to win it, am I? Who am I to win? And saying things like, no one can do it like me. These are not logical actions. They're identity-driven decisions. Your negative beliefs are calling the shots. Your limiting beliefs are driving your decisions. Until you upgrade your identity, you'll keep going round in circles, progressing, then regressing, going from infancy to adolescence, back to infancy, but never onto maturity. It's what I call the loop of doom. But it's a pattern that I see time and time again. And if you don't believe me, almost 50% of automotive businesses fail within the first 5 years because of this loop of doom. What happens is in infancy, when the business is 100% dependent on the owners, everything's comfortable. But as you move into adolescence, things start to get a little bit more difficult and it gets too much to bear. But part of that is your limiting beliefs and your negative beliefs. You don't believe or think you deserve the success. You don't think you should be charging that amount of money. And what happens then is you revert back to infancy where everything's back dependent on you, or if there's more than one of you, the business owners. So the shift, what you need is 100% clarity, belief, and commitment. And this is what I want you to take away from this training talk. You need 3 things to escape the self-sabotage loop. That is 100% clarity, know what you want and why it matters. This is why you need a personal and a business vision, because then you know what you want and why it matters. 100% belief. Know that you deserve it and that you are capable of achieving it. But you need to believe this 100% of the time. Consistency, repetitions. Develop habits that match your new identity. Change doesn't come from listening to this training topic. It comes from taking action. But it starts here with a moment of honesty. So let me ask you, who do you need to become to reach the next level in your business? What beliefs are you still carrying that are no longer serving you? And what would your business look like if you stopped getting in your own way? Who do you surround yourself with that shares your vision? But probably more importantly, who do you spend time with doesn't? What habits do you have that are limiting your potential? And what habits could increase your self-worth, which will in turn increase your actual worth? Remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Change the identity and you change the results. So if this episode struck a nerve, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget, being clever doesn't beat being consistent. And what's stopping you is probably starting. So before I go, I want to tell you a quick story, just in case you don't think that changing your identity will change how you change your life. Imagine leaving school with just one O level and being rejected from being able to attend college full-time. Being turned away then by the army and forced onto a youth training scheme with a local garage. How did that start into adulthood shape the identity of someone, and what would the future hold for someone like that? Fast forward 15 years, and after being rejected for another promotion, Andy quit his job and changed his outlook. From victim to victor. He made a decision, not to prove anyone wrong, but to finally prove himself right. And he knew what he wanted to achieve because he had a vision. Yes, it was a risk. The job he left was safe. His pension was secure, but he needed to change his identity to challenge the narrative of his life up to now. His vision was to study towards PhD. He wanted the title doctor. But how does a 30-something mechanic with one O level and no A levels even get a PhD? First, he needed to study towards a HNC. The very act of changing his belief that he was worth it meant it opened doors to a new opportunity. Remember, your network is your net worth. So Andy was now surrounded by experts, industry leaders, and luminaries. He didn't know it at the time, but his identity was shifted. But a familiar pattern remained. He was passed over for promotion again, but instead of blaming everyone else, he asked for feedback. He wanted to address his weaknesses. More study followed and a change of career, this time into teaching, which opened opportunities for more education. A HND followed by a degree, and yet after another setback, this time redundancy, Andy started his own business, studied towards a master's, and finally he was accepted for a fully funded engineering doctorate. He has now written peer-reviewed papers and is leading research into low-carbon fuel injection. Challenging my identity changed my outlook. It also changed the people I spent the most time, which in turn shifted my beliefs, changing what I thought was possible. It is possible to change your identity and therefore change your outcomes. Thanks for listening.